Hi, everybody, or good evening, good afternoon, or wherever you guys are from, or whenever this is being viewed. I'm going to finish up my formal report on my subject, which I dictated in the paper I already wrote on ransomware. So, a lot of people don't know often what ransomware is, but you've heard of it, or often what I would like to call scare news articles. So, ransomware is often dictated as a form of pretty dangerous malware, as malware is dictated as, or excuse me, is defined as dangerous software that can infect your computer or your network, and often just run dangerous actions, whether it's keylogging, put a virus in there. It's pretty bad stuff. Now, ransomware will often infect your computer as the same way as a virus often does, often through what the fine folks at Malwarebytes often call malvertising, but I will get into that term a little bit later. Is that, as I often say, you get an email or an ad or is something that's able to download something, but when when ransomware infects your computer, it locks your computer pretty much without you knowing, and it just locks you out just like that, and it throws up either some message on the screen. Two famous ones now were CryptoLocker, which I'm sure most people have seen this or have been actually victims of it. It throws up a FBI official logo or an official government logo or any law enforcement agency logo. Is that it'll accuse the user of relatively pretty heinous crimes. Some include child pornography, zoophilia, piracy, pretty heinous stuff. When, as obviously say, if somebody obviously didn't know anything about, say that that they didn't commit it, as they would be scared into paying the fine, in which most oftentimes would not almost guarantee that you actually will get access to your computer back, as often at times they have actually reported the code to essentially evolve, and a new message will display accusing the user of trying to attempt to hack it and officially accusing the user of tampering with official evidence, which in turn will double the fine and thus scaring the user once again, and thus an attempt to suck out more money. As this falls under a term known as phishing and social engineering. Phishing and social engineering often use a hacker's term for emotional appeal to somebody. Is that whether, like I said before, of just scaring people, or see if your uncle in Nigeria wants to send you $1 million for whatever reason, or some lady has their son in a hospital and they need your help to pay for medical bills. Is often these are pretty heinous stuff, and once you give these people your money, they know it works, and it's going to keep using it. So, yeah, you don't want to do that. So another one is WannaCry ransomware, which is relatively pretty famous, as I'm sure a lot of people have seen, which I'll throw a picture on it up here somewhere just to show what it looks like. And essentially it kind of does the same thing of the CryptoLocker, but it just locks your computer out and just demands money. You can just say your files are encrypted, give us money, we'll give you access to it. There's two timers. The first one is saying if you don't, then we'll double the fine. And if you don't, we'll double the fine. And if you refuse to, then they just delete your files altogether. And so, as somebody might be wondering, well, as dangerous as this malware is, there has to be a way to fix it. And luckily, there actually is. And like I said before, Malwarebytes, fine folks over there, have often done extreme amount of research into this, including myself, and it's not a fact. There's not pretty easy steps in trying to fix it. So first off, what I would recommend is just invest in some pretty well reputation antivirus software. Personally, I use Malwarebytes and McAfee antivirus software, as these are pretty well rep reputations. They have teams around the clock doing patches, researching and updating it around the clock, and it's able to cover multiple avenues of attack so your computer won't get infected. Second step, which I often think is probably the worst step, but it's still pretty viable, is that you have to back up your computer to a external hard drive, whether it be something like this, like a USB key, something, say, if your file would get infected or something like that, you could just revert your computer back to this, and the virus will completely just be gone. As a third, next step is to occasionally run updates yourself, because even though the fine team over at Malwarebytes, occasionally everybody's human, they're liable to miss stuff. And finally, the last thing I think you should do is just educate yourself. As even though, like I said before, the Nigerian prince offering $1 million, if it looks too good to be true in ads like this, it most likely is. So, is to wrap this up, that's my report on ransomware. And just be sure to educate yourself, be safe. Antivirus software, it's easy, it's not too bad. And all this should be given enough to you to protect you while being out there in the fun jungle that we call the internet. So yeah, thanks for watching.